Something that I hear a lot of the time when people are starting creative endeavors is that the idea that they have is too saturated. Before I started my brand, this is the one thing that kept me in fear, and it caused me to not start way earlier than I did. Streetwear brands, they've been done. But once I started, I really regretted not starting earlier and being held back by this fear, because it is something I really wanted to do. So the promise of this video is I will provide insight and provide actionable steps into standing out in a saturated environment. So who am I? Why you should listen to me? I've worked in the film industry as a VFX artist. I've created and directed my own short films. And as I mentioned before, I run my own Melbourne-based Indian-themed streetwear brand. And all of these fields that I have done work in are all saturated fields. There are films on almost everything out there now. But if I didn't start because I was afraid of all this competition, I wouldn't be doing the things that I really like to do. My name is RK. I have the mission of helping creatives like you improve themselves and the people around them through their craft and innovation. I do this through educational videos like these and showcasing my own work. I'm not here to preach or tell you that I'm better than you in any way. I'm just trying to present all the things that I've learned. Respect to you for clicking this low dopamine educational video compared to the more clickbaity videos on your feed. Something that will really help me and you in the long run is clicking the subscribe button down below to see more content like this on your feed, not just from me, but from other YouTubers that are more educational and will really help your improvement in the long run. I would love to have a chat with you if you're a creative and you would love to help me on this mission of improving yourself and the people around you through your craft. It's the first link down below. So the key factors into combating this fear of saturation in a market is understanding first why saturation is actually a good thing, and how if you have purpose in your idea, saturation doesn't really matter anymore. And thirdly, we'll be going into some actionable steps in standing out in a saturated environment. 99% of the things that you want to do have been done before. There's a podcast, a movie, a song about almost everything that you can think of nowadays. But this competition is also a good thing because there is proof of concept in the idea that you have. It's been done before, and you have all the steps and everything you need to do already set out for you. A wise man learns from the mistakes of others. If there is competition and there are people killing it in the thing that you want to do, you learn from their mistakes and you can exponentially speed up your growth. There is a demand for this thing that you want to create already. You just need to make people prefer to consume this idea or product from you rather than other people. And the fact that there's so many people who want this thing is only going to make it easier. Secondly, we're going to go into your idea's purpose matters. Purpose matters no matter what you're doing creatively. If you knew that you would fail, would you still go through with this idea? You need to ask yourself, why do you want the thing that you want? Is it something that you really want, or is it just the idea of it that you really want? An example of this would be if I saw a really muscular guy in the gym and I see him getting praise from all these people, and then I go and change the trajectory of my life to be more like this person because I like the idea in my head, but I don't wake up 6 a.m. in the morning and go and work out like this guy does. I don't count my calories in every meal that I do and let the gym overtake my life. But when I change the trajectory of my life and I start doing these things, do I really enjoy doing them? Is this something that I really want? Or do I just like the idea of the final product? Are these problems that I talked about, are these the type of problems that you would like to deal with? Say you're a creative and you see someone make a short film and you see all the praise they're getting for it. It's no easy task doing anything and becoming big and getting the accolades and the awards. The thing you have to pick out is, what kind of problems do you want to deal with in order to get to those big things? For me, I saw that there was not that much representation of people who look like me and come from my cultural background in the streetwear scene. If I said, oh, clothing brands are too saturated, I'm not going to represent my people in some way, you could see how saturation as an excuse is quite silly. That's like saying if you're a charity and you have a good, reputable thing that you have a purpose towards, but you say, oh, there are so many charities out there already helping people. I'm not going to help people because the market is too saturated. There wouldn't be millions of people out in the world helping other people if they use saturation as an excuse. If this is something that you know will help yourself and help people around you and you have a concrete enough purpose, I hate to break it to you, it's either this is not even the thing that you want, or you're just using this as an excuse to procrastinate. We're going to go into another mindset that you do not need to be the top 1% to reap 90% of the benefits. The top 1%, the number one athletes in, let's say, gymnastics, have grinded all their life and fully sacrificed everything to be where they are in the Olympics. In the pool of success, they get the most of it, but there is this another type of person out there now, especially in this social media day and age, is the one that documents and is relatable. They reap a majority of the remaining success that these 1% of the people don't. The gymnast who isn't number one, but is say number 5 or number 6, or even lower than that, if they fully document their process and all their growth, and they provide a voice for the people who want to be like them, they would get more sponsorships, more social media time, more people liking them, more people recognizing them. As long as you have a purpose and you document your purpose, you can reap a majority of the success that the 1% leave behind. Another thing we need to go into is the myth that it takes 1,000 hours to master or become an expert at something. It does not take in the account that the type of quality of the practice you do, it only takes in the amount of time. 90% of the people are afraid to even start. High key, the big ideas are actually easier than the mediocre ones. Yes, they take more time and they take way more effort. But if you are willing to have an idea and do the things that most people be too afraid to do, the market that you have, the competition you have, has now cut down from 90% of the people to 5%. These top 1% of the people who are killing it in the thing that you want to do aren't your competition right now. The competition that you have right now are all the other people, all the 99% of the people who are saying, oh, saturation is the reason that I'm not going to start. You're on their level right now. Your competition progressively overloads the better and better that you get in your field. Something you can do right now to push the needle forward and be ahead of these 99% of the people that you are in competition with is sit down and brainstorm some things that these people are not willing to do at your level. At the end of the day, to stand out, you just need to do the things that most people would feel either uncomfortable to do, are too scared to do, or are too lazy to do. This might just be as simple as just starting. Once you started, you have now beaten all the people who are sitting there making the excuses that you used to make. Now, how can you stand out when there is a saturated environment? What is one thing that no one else in this world has but you? It's the stories that you have in your life and all the things that happen to you to make who you are as a person. As long as you have this, you can stand out in a crowd. But most people don't realize that the things that happen to them are worth telling. They don't feel like the things that happen in their life are worthy enough for telling. First of all, before going into that, think about when you are entering something like the fashion industry, or you are creating a clothing brand, or you're creating a YouTube channel, who is the 99% of the people that your field is saturated with? Half of the time, it's just people who are like so-soing it. People who aren't fully into it. People who started, but now that they've started, they don't really produce much, or they procrastinate. So with a clothing brand, it would just be like the people who create basic tees that don't have a purpose and just do it every now and then whenever they feel like it. If that's the case, you just need to do the things that these people aren't willing to do to stand out. Something you need to think about is if you are in a soccer match or a sporting event and you're sitting in a row of people that are all wearing the same thing, you're shouting the same message, and all wearing the same colors, and you all look the same, all your faces are painted. From an outsider looking at the crowd, you were quite hard to be distinguished. But let's say that you weren't wearing the same color as everyone else, and you had a megaphone or you had a banner, that would help you stand out from the crowd. So it's not you need to change yourself and who you are. You just need to articulate and highlight the different things and the different assets that you have in your life. So how can we stand out in the crowd? Going off what we were talking about before, one thing that is going to be unique no matter what is the life experiences and the stories in your life. No one can replicate the stories about you that you can tell. Then it comes the question that people don't feel their stories in their life are worthy of telling. An actionable step would be this activity from The Art of Storytelling by John Walsh. It's called Stories for Life. It's where you take 5 minutes each day and you just write down a mundane story about your life. This could be watching this YouTube video and learning about this. This could be tying your shoelaces and you have to tie them twice today. Anything mundane that happens in your life as a story, just write it down for 5 minutes and that's it. Over time, your brain starts subconsciously appreciating and seeing the stories that are happening in your life. If you have an idea and you have a story behind it, that's all you need to stand out in a saturated environment. So we've got into all the key factors of combating a saturated idea, getting over the fear of saturation and competition, and understanding why saturation is actually a good thing, how your idea's purpose matters. You don't need to be in the top 1% to reap 90% of the benefits, and how can you stand out in a saturated environment. So the promise at the start of this video is I will provide insight and provide actionable steps into standing out in a saturated environment. I'd love to have a chat again if you would like to help me on this mission of cultivating a society where creators improve themselves and the people around them through their craft. It's the first link down below. Thank you so much.